District breakdown time. We are in 5A, Division 1. We are up in the Frisco ISD district along with some other northern schools, and we are joined with Diggsy. And Diggsy, God bless it, there's a third person on this party. I don't know what's going on here.
It's a third person. I have all of my networking, and we are bringing in a special guest from the Frisco Sports Network. My guy, Jackson Vaerewyck, has agreed to come join us right now and tell us all things Frisco ISD football. How you doing, Jackson?
Hello, fellas. How are we all doing? I'm doing pretty good. Excited to talk ball. Excited for the battle that me and Diggsy are going to have here about the 5-5A projections and just the season outlook. I'm really excited for it. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Some of your buddies over there in Frisco are high on Frisco Reedy. Others are higher on Frisco Lone Star. Who are you high on?
Well, I mean, a little personal bias being a Raccoon myself, but I'm high on the Frisco Raccoons. I mean, they've got playmakers all around the football, and they've got a young, high-flying offense, and that's due in large part to Copen Harbor. Injury-riddled season last year, only played in 4 total district games, but Frisco still made it to the playoffs after a very grit and grind Frisco-esque win over Frisco Heritage, 10-7, which Heritage missed 4 field goals. And despite that, though, Frisco, despite only having a backup quarterback, got in at the 4 spot. And I believe Frisco is a team that is going to make that jump potentially all the way up to the 2 seed and maybe even the 1 seed over Lone Star, due largely in part to, like I said, Copen Harbor, Jackson Voris, Mason Mitchell, a lot of returning starters, only losing 8 seniors for Frisco High. I believe they have a lot of potential this upcoming season for sure.
Whoa, well, let's compare that to who you got going number 1 there, Diggs. You look like a Lone Star guy to me, Diggs, no matter what I say.
I am a Lone Star guy.
It's hard to beat.
I mean, you got Davian Gross coming back, and I know he's got a little bit of an identity crisis. What's he going to be? And I know even got some family members who might disagree on what he should be as far as that relates to his college recruitability. But, man, all of the outlook last year on Lone Star was all the young kids that they've got coming back. And I look at the fact that they got Carice Hoyt of all-world freshman last year. You got Jordan Deck coming back. You got Bryson Jones. But who's going to throw the ball around at Lone Star? I think that's going to be the big question. That if they can answer that quarterback question, they could be really good. Now Frisco's got the answer to that quarterback question. What's Lone Star going to have?
I found out recently that Heritage actually got the answer to their quarterback question too, with Joshua Greek moving in, and they've got 4 receivers that are about as fast as can be, fast as lightning. I think it's going to be a typical Heritage team, man. All offense. And then the defense, just try to hold them to 40 or under, and we'll see if we can get a win. Under. But let me know what you think about Heritage, Jackson, and also maybe throw some at me about Reedy.
I mean, yeah, like you said, Frisco Heritage has some blazing speed all over the field. Tatum Bell Jr., I mean, son of former NFL player Tatum Bell. I mean, that's kind of that NFL DNA, that playmaker, not only on the football field, but on the track and field events as well. Blazing speed. I got to cover some of those track events as well, but yeah, Joshua Greek going to be the answer for Frisco Heritage. Originally, they're going to maybe go with Cameron Lomax at quarterback. I'm excited to see if they maybe try and play around with that a little bit, kind of hitting on the Lone Star utility aspect. What is Gross going to be? I mean, all district utility player. I mean, Under Armour, All-American. He can play receiver, running back. I mean, you can put that kid anywhere on the football field. He's going to make plays. But Frisco Reedy specifically, I mean, I think Reedy, Jake Ferner comes back. They're going to have a 1-quarterback system. He won't be splitting reps this upcoming season. So I'm really excited to see how they try and attack the air. But on the ground, I mean, they returned Tristan Airy, a guy that almost ran for nearly 1,500 yards on the ground this past season and was really the workhorse of that offense. And obviously, you lose a guy like Max Anderson on the offensive line, the Tennessee Bowl commit. That's going to hurt you a little bit. But, I mean, other than that, Chad Cole in his years at Reedy has done a fantastic job of continuing to rebuild, similar to what we've seen with Jeff Rayburn over at Lone Star, despite not having the most talent, trying to make the most of their players. So I believe we're going to see a lot of carries for Tristan Airy this upcoming season for the Reedy Lions.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack last year, Jackson, because I didn't pick Reedy to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I saw that. You got him at like the 6th spot. I remember I watched this video last year.
And they took it real personally. But that's the whole thing with this district, the Frisco Division I district, is there is so much parity that a team that you might not think on paper makes the playoffs. Like you've got Frisco as a top 2 team. I don't even have them making the playoffs. I've got Frisco as that team this year. And then like you talked about off air, Frisco Wakeland, we haven't even talked about them, and they just graduated an all Frisco ISD all-time quarterback in Brennan Meyer. Who's going to fill those shoes for Frisco Wakeland? But I know they're not going to be happy with just being considered and also ran in this district.
And then there's the teams that, go ahead, Jackson.
You talked about filling those shoes for Wakeland. I mean, I think obviously you can't replace that kind of production from a quarterback that nearly passed for 100 passing touchdowns in his 3 years as the starter and 100 career total touchdowns through the air and on the ground. And I mean, even in his sophomore year, beating Highland Park, that's one of the craziest upsets we've seen in the DFW area. In this past year, they beat Mansfield Timberview, a team they weren't favored to beat. Also, both of those matchups, Wakeland was a lower seed, but Jaden Maples is going to have to try and step in and fill the shoes of Meyer. And not sure how that's going to go. Obviously, Maples a junior as opposed to Meyer when he stepped in to fill those shoes. But Grayson Meyer, Brendan Meyer's little brother, is going to step up as well in the receiving game, as well as Ryder Treadway.
So talk to me, Diggs, about McKinney North, because this is a non-Frisco team that's usually got some power is dipping in there. Remember, McKinney North was the team that had Lancaster spinning when they got beat pretty handily up there for a while. Talk to me about North and what do you think they're going to do?
I watched McKinney North last year. I went out to Tyler. I know you love one. We'll be talking about 7-5A in a couple of weeks. But I watched that game against them. They had some really good senior talent that they're going to have to figure out how to replace. But McKinney North is a team that is always primed. I think I might make Jackson a little bit mad about this. I think this district alignment compared to what they had to deal with 7-5A last year with Forney and Lancaster and some of those squads, they got to be taking a deep sigh of relief being in this district pairing. Not only is the travel a lot easier, but I think they're going to be more the talent is going to be more similar. They got Cameron Powell, a unanimous all first team wide receiver coming back. Damon Donahue, a really talented offensive lineman who will be back for McKinney North. I think McKinney North is going to be a playoff team, and that means a really good Frisco ISD team is not going to make the playoffs.
And that's going to upset Jackson. I don't like Jackson upset. When he gets upset, it's terrible. But one thing Jackson doesn't do that you do, Diggs, is he doesn't talk about no East Texas schools in a North Texas podcast. So stop talking about Tyler and let's get back to the subject at hand. Jackson, there's a couple more Frisco teams that will probably be struggling for victories here. You got anything for us on Centennial and Lebanon Trail?
Yeah, Centennial, I mean, they graduated a loaded senior class this past year. And despite having that loaded senior class, they finished as the 6 or 7 spot, only getting a couple district wins and getting obliterated in some of their games. But they graduate some guys like Chance Robbins, who led the state of Texas in interceptions. They graduated an Iowa State commit at wide receiver, Brett Esqueda, and the powerhouse and workhorse and the heart of their offense in the backfield, Harry Stewart, the guy that's been doing it all for them for the past 3 years. The Kansas Jayhawk running back is now gone as well.
Sherman's got a lot of offensive talent coming back. Caleb Orr, 1,500 yards at quarterback. Kane Bowen, running back who had 500 yards. Colby Ray Short at wide receiver. They also got Micah Hunt and Randy Nelson. If Sherman can stop anybody, they might be a dark horse team right there, ready to jump up to the next tier as well.
Awesome. I'll tell you what, let's quickly go through first Jackson's 1 through 9, and then we'll move on to your 1 through 9 and see how they match up. What do you got for me, Jackson?
So for my top seed, it's a little biased here. And I feel like it's more of a 1A, 1B situation, but I'm going to put the Frisco Raccoons over the Lone Star Rangers. But I believe those are kind of unanimous that you can plug and play with them. So I'm sure you have Lone Star at 1. So at 1, I have the Frisco Raccoons. At 2, the Lone Star Rangers. At 3, the Heritage Coyotes, especially with the addition of Joshua Greek. Heritage was falling down for me a little bit with that QB uncertainty, with maybe Chris Stott stepping in, Cameron Lomax. But with that solidified Joshua Greek at the quarterback spot, a sophomore playmaker all the way from Barris, Texas, I believe that Heritage is going to make the playoffs. And then at 4, I'm going to go with the McKinney North as well at 4. Not all Frisco schools making it for me. At 5, the Reedy Lions. 6, the Wakeland Wolverines. 7, the Lebanon Trail Trailblazers. 8, the Sherman Bearcats. And rounding out District 5-5A, I have the Centennial Titans at the 9 spot.
What do you say,
We almost
Dave?
agree, Jackson. I got Lone Star number 1, Frisco Reedy number 2, McKinney North number 3, Frisco Heritage number 4. I'm going to drop your Raccoons all the way to number 6 because I got Frisco Wakeland with Ryder Treadway at number 5. Frisco number 6, Sherman number 7. I got Centennial over Lebanon Trail at 8, and Lebanon Trail to round out the district at 9. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Jackson, I appreciate that.
Sports
of course, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
He got the pipes, man. He's got the pipes too, so we may see him a couple more times too. But see you guys next week.